so what lowers blood flow? Alcohol, marijuana.
Marijuana as well. Is that?
Yeah, I published a study on 1,000 marijuana users.
Mm.
Every area of their brain is lower compared to a healthy group. And then I published, I think it's the world's largest imaging study on 62,454 scans on how the brain ages. Like little kids have really busy brains, old people not so much. And then we looked at, well, what accelerates aging? And the worst thing was being diagnosed with schizophrenia. Your brain was significantly older than you were. The second worst thing, and it was a surprise to me, was marijuana.
More than alcohol?
More than alcohol. More than smoking, although alcohol and smoking did not make your brain look younger, for sure.
Yeah.
Being sedentary lowers blood flow to the brain. Smoking cigarettes, caffeine.
No one likes to hear that.
I'm not a huge fan.
Don't tell Dave that.
Of caffeine. Well, I have, and he just blows me off. We agree on almost everything.
Yeah. Now, for caffeine, in terms of the caffeine itself, so is it the actual chemicals that are doing this, or is it the lack of sleep or the quality of sleep that most people don't get because they're drinking caffeine too late in the day?
Great question. And people drink caffeine, well, one, it's addictive, and two, it blocks adenosine. Adenosine is the chemical that builds up and goes, go to sleep. But you're blocking it. You're blocking its effect, but it's still building up. So you're always in this sleep debt state if you're using much caffeine. And so the reason I became not a fan of it is it constricts blood flow to the brain. And anything that constricts blood flow to an organ prematurely ages the organ. Now, if you have 100 or maybe even 200 milligrams of caffeine a day, it's not the biggest deal in the world.
Is that like a cup per day?
But the Starbucks Venti is 330 milligrams. That is an addiction dose. So their Ventis, they're a tall one. If you have the little one, it's probably fine. And then it's the crap you put in the coffee to make it tolerable, right? I mean, yes, there are people that can drink it black. I have no idea how they can do that. But
I'll teach you.
Why? It's just interesting. We get addicted to things that taste bad, right? Like the first time you drink alcohol, it's not a good. It's terrible, right? It's poison. It's meant to be poison. Anyways, the other thing with blood flow is erectile dysfunction. It's like, why are there commercials all the time for ED drugs? Because we're sick as a society. 40% of 40-year-olds have erectile dysfunction. 70% of 70-year-olds have erectile dysfunction. And if you have blood flow problems anywhere, it means they're everywhere.
Wow.
And so that means 40% of 40-year-olds have brain dysfunction, 70% of 70-year-olds. And so when people get on our brain health programs, their sex lives get better, which always makes me super happy.
Oh, wow. So I didn't know they were all connected like that.
They're all connected.
Okay. So you know how Viagra, when it was initially introduced, it was actually meant for angina. So obviously, which helps with blood flow for erectile dysfunction. Does that mean taking Viagra can actually help blood flow to the brain?
Yes. There are actually some studies
really
showing that. Now, there are other things you can do, like beets and ginkgo and cayenne pepper, and I'm not sure you want to walk around with an erection.
Yeah, not at 31. No, I'm good. Thank you. So what are the things? What are the things? Let's talk about the love part and the things that can actually help. You mentioned marijuana, which was surprising for me that it's so bad, even worse than alcohol. So what are the foods and supplements that can actually increase the blood flow to our brains?
So for each of the risk factors, you want to know, okay, what causes it? What puts me at risk for it? And what can I do about it? And the first thing you can do is exercise. Walk like you're late, 45 minutes, 4 times a week. That's so helpful. It has antidepressant qualities to it. Coordination exercises like table tennis, because it activates your cerebellum, which then turns on blood flow to the rest of your brain. So coordination exercises, I'm a huge fan. Foods like beets, cayenne pepper, cinnamon, oregano, rosemary have all research showing that it increases blood flow. My favorite supplement for blood flow is ginkgo.
That was the first one.
I noticed it early on in my imaging work. The prettiest brains I ever saw, because SPECT is a blood flow study, take ginkgo. And so I put it in our products because I think it's just so important.
What are foods that have ginkgo if someone doesn't want to just take supplements?
It's from a tree, so I don't think there are any.
So you have to supplement it.
Yeah,
Okay.
you have to supplement.
Okay, got it. What about omega-3?
Huge fan. And I did a study for 50 consecutive patients that came to the clinic that were not on fish oil. We measured their omega-3 index. 49 of them had suboptimal levels. So we're just not getting it in our diet anymore. I published another study on omega-3s. Low omega-3 index went with low blood flow in the hippocampus, which is one of the major memory structures in the brain. It's one of the first areas that dies in Alzheimer's disease.
Wow. Okay. So that's really critical. I remember Dr. Rhonda Patrick talks a lot about the different types of omega-3. So there's phospholipids and then there's triglycerides. Phospholipids is the one that's actually going to be better for the brain. So krill oil, I know, has the kind of the triggers for phospholipids. Do you recommend taking krill oil then instead of normal omega-3 supplements?
Well, my work has been done on EPA and DHA from fish, not krill, and found significant improvements. But a lot of people don't understand. Many people go, oh, DHA helps my brain, EPA helps my heart. But the studies on ADHD and depression, that DHA didn't make a difference, but EPA made much more of a difference. But think of it, if it helps your heart, obviously it helps your brain.
Right. Now we know that it's all connected.
Right. And when you had gut problems, well, you could also have brain problems, right? Because your gut is completely connected to your brain. And if your gut's not right, you're much more likely to be anxious. You're much more likely to be depressed. You're much more likely to have brain fog.
So I'm really getting that it's blood flow. Like that's kind of the name of it. Anything that you can do to increase blood flow anywhere in your body, that's going to be good for the brain.
And if you do that and decrease inflammation, then that's sort of the sweet spot. So there's 11 risk factors. I think all of them are important. If I had to pick two, I'd pick blood flow and inflammation. And with the standard American diet, we know processed foods and ultra processed foods are bad for your brain and your body because all the sugar increases inflammation. But, a surprising thing people don't know is if you have gum disease, you have inflammation and you're at risk for heart disease and brain disease. And so you got to get your gut right. It's important to floss. So if you think of your mouth, this is an extension of your gut, right? Your mouth has its own microbiome, which is pretty interesting. So taking really great care of your teeth is really important. And then stop with the pro-inflammatory things you drank and the pro-inflammatory things you eat.
Yeah. Even the gum disease, I've heard that's correlated to the heart, but I guess that's also correlated to the brain.
Absolutely correlated to dementia. Yeah. In fact, in some studies with dementia, they see certain bacteria usually found in the mouth, found in the brain.
Yeah. I do a lot of hot yoga. Is that kind of similar? You talk about sauna and the impacts of how that can reduce inflammation. Is it just about the sweat particularly, or is it about the infrared saunas in particular?
So I think hot yoga would be great for your brain because you sweat. It's probably a little bit different mechanism than an infrared sauna that is also increasing heat shock proteins that help clean you out and decrease inflammation. So people take the most saunas have the lowest incidence of Alzheimer's disease.
Wow. Yeah. That's the most studied as well in general, right?
Yeah. And mostly the studies are Finland.
Yeah.
But I think there's a new study out in JAMA on saunas for depression. They found that one sauna bath significantly improved mood.
Wow. I'm
And maybe it's because it's so hot in here, I have to get out. And then you feel better when you're
yeah, you're just relieved to be out, right? As a brain doctor, I'm curious to know what are the setups you have in your daily life? Like, do you have a sauna at home as well? What are the supplements that you take? Like, I just want to get inside of your brain and your daily habits that we can share with people that you're doing.
So I do intermittent fasting pretty much every day. So I'll stop eating at 6 and don't eat again until 10 or 11 the next morning. I'm very purposeful about everything I eat and everything I drink, but I love my habits, from a decaf cappuccino in the morning that I make.
You don't drink coffee, like caffeine coffee?
No.
Okay.
And yeah, well, I'm the Energizer Bunny. I don't need it. And I make brain healthy hot chocolate every night. Very purposeful about the number of calories I put in my body, just because my risk for obesity. I generally do meetings while I'm walking.
Walking.
So I have, a huddle with my executive team every day, and I'm generally walking outside.
Yeah.
So I start every day with today is going to be a great day. I mean, I'm purposeful. I'm pushing my brain to be positive. I go to bed every night with what went well today. It's one of my favorite times.
Are you journaling that, or is that just something you're
No, it's a practice that I do. When I go to bed, I say a prayer, and then I go, what went well today? And I start from the beginning of the day, and I try to go hour by hour looking for what I liked.
So really detailed about
every detail about it. I take lots of supplements. I take a great multiple vitamin, high dose omega-3 fatty acids. I take extra vitamin D. I have one of the bad alleles for MTHFR for methylfolate. And so I take extra methylfolate a day. I take Brain Boost that has ginkgo in it. I take smart mushrooms, not magic mushrooms. I take smart mushrooms and a green product. And, I put most of it into a shake, and I'll put a cup of blueberries in with it.
Yeah.
And I love it, and it loves me back.
That's it.